This tutorial video is going to teach you how to create a viewport in your title block, and it's also going to teach you how to set up your title block as a template so it always reappears every time you open up AutoCAD. The first thing that we need to do is we need to create a viewport. What we need to do is we need to come up to our ribbon, and at the end of all of your tab names you're going to see the Layout tab. Select the Layout tab, and then we're going to go into our Layout Viewports panel. Selecting the drop down for your viewport types, we have rectangular, polygonal, and object. What we need to select is a rectangular viewport. With rectangular viewport active, what we need to do is we need to start by clicking in the top left-hand corner and dragging all the way down to the bottom part of where we want our models to show up. Okay, so if you go all the way down and cover up the words, you've gone too far. You need to go back up to the top of that 1-inch line and right or left click in that space. Once you've done that, you're going to see a grid appear. If you double click inside or where that grid is, you're going to notice that a bold box shows up. Okay, that bold box means that your viewport is active. If you double click outside of that bold box, what's going to happen is the bold box is going to disappear, and that means that your viewport is inactive. What's the significance of the viewport? Well, if you come back to your model space, and let's say I have a bunch of different circles drawn, this is actually where your floor plans are going to go. But just for demo purposes, I have a bunch of circles drawn, and if I come back to my Layout 1 tab and I double click inside my viewport to make it active, if I select top, what top is going to do is it's going to bring all of the contents in my model space and fit it nice and proportionately in the middle of my viewport. What this does is it gives you kind of a window into what your model space is looking like, so that you can reposition it and move it around and make it bigger or smaller and fit whatever contents are in your model space inside your viewport for presentation purposes. This is what real-life architects do for their floor plans that they create for businesses or homes. Since I don't need the circles, I'm going to go back to my model space and select all of them to delete them. And I'll come back to my Layout 1 tab. We don't need anything in our model space right now. We'll get to our projects a little bit later. So I'm going to deselect outside of my viewport. The next thing that we need to go ahead and do is down in our Layout 1 and 2 tabs, we have an extra Layout 2 tab. We don't really need it. So we're going to right click on that and just delete. Little window is going to pop up. Yes, okay, we want that tab to be completed. So the only two that you should be stuck with are the Model tab and your Layout 1 tab. Once we've completed creating the title block and making the viewport in our Layout 1 tab, we're done. Now what we need to go ahead and do is we need to save to our folder. So how we do that is we're going to go to our application menu, down to Save As, and hover over Save As. That will allow us to select Drawing Template. Make sure you ask your teacher what you want the name of your file to be. I just call mine title block, but double check with your instructor to make sure that they don't have something specific that they'd like to call it. And then you're going to save it to the folder that is created on your desktop for your Intro to Architecture and Engineering folder. Double check the files of type that it reads AutoCAD Drawing Template in parentheses .dwt. .dwt stands for Drawing Template. Once you have it inside of your architecture folder, you're going to go ahead and select Save. After that, a little template options window is going to pop up. You're also going to press OK. Now that we've saved it, what we need to go ahead and do is we need to save it as a template so that every time that we quit out of AutoCAD and reopen it in your Layout 1 tab, this is what you will always see instead of the original grid that we started with. How we do this is we're going to go up to our application menu. We're going to come all the way down to the bottom of our application menu and we're going to select Options. When you select Options, a window is going to pop up. we need to make sure that we are on the Files tab. And within the Files tab, we're going to look for Template Settings. You can either double click on Template Settings or you can press the plus sign. I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you can see. The next thing that we need to find is Default Template for QNew. Again, we can double click or we can press the plus sign to open that subfolder up. What you're going to see here is a little arrow with the word None next to it. Right now, it doesn't have a template set up for default opening up every time that we launch AutoCAD. So we need to set our template up. How we do this? Double click on None, and then wherever you saved the title block that you just finished, you need to select that file and you need to select Open. Then what it's going to do is it's going to list the steps on where they found that specific title block. The next thing that we need to do is we need to select Apply. You need to make sure that you select Apply first. So select Apply so that it's faded out gray, and then we come and select OK. Now, what should happen is you close out of AutoCAD, and if it asks you to save the changes, yes, you can. And just make sure that you're saving it as a drawing template to wherever you originally saved it. And yes, you want to replace it. Never hurts to save. Save often. We're going to select OK again, and we're done with AutoCAD. Now, if we open up AutoCAD, again, what should happen is our title block should be represented in our new image area. So if you take a look, I created a new image or a new drawing, and in our Layout 1 tab, it automatically shows up with our title block, so that every time you don't need to redo these steps in order for our title block to show up. This is the conclusion of how to create a title block and layers tutorial videos. If you have any questions, please ask your professor or re-watch the tutorial videos.